Good evening, known world. I am Excellency Rahmut al-Tayyiba. I'm coming to you today from the wonderfully but cold barony of Bronzehelm. And I'm in the Kingdom of Artemisia, which is, we do it better. You should see Artemisia's TikTok. Just saying. It's got some faces you may or may not know from different shows. And with me today, I am honored and blessed to also have a fellow Artemisian on the show who's in a climate even colder than where I'm at. Lord Edward Little John. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
You might recognize him from, I don't know, maybe some other podcast, webcasts. You want to tell us just a little bit about you and where we can see you, and also why you are so freaking awesome.
Uh, so, um, oh, where's, okay. Yeah, I see Effen's already in the chat. There you go. Hey, Effen. Um,
Hi.
speaking of Effen, I am one of the hosts of Ask the Night Live, which is another Kal-bardr production, with Her Excellency, Honora. I hope she's flipping me off. And of course, our fabulous tech guy, Effen. And oh gosh, yeah, it's pretty cold up here. It's about 15 degrees, I think. 15
Yeah, we're
degrees.
about 10 degrees warmer. And this is, of course, Fahrenheit for our friends who happen to go by Celsius.
True,
So
true Fahrenheit.
we are below freezing. We are below 0 Celsius. So tell us a little bit about you besides being on Askanites.
Sure. So I'm originally from Florida. I actually started SEA in Trimaris. My first night was Duke Sir Kern O'Farrell, who amazing guy all around. And hopefully we should be having him on Ask the Night pretty soon. So spoilers. But we moved up. I moved up from Florida about 6 or so years ago with my mother, and we lived on the Fort Peck Indian Reservation for about 3 years. She still lives there, and I actually go and help her out every now and again. But that is where I lived, and that is where I worked for a long time. And then 3 years after, 3 years after I moved, I ended up moving in with my now wonderful and amazing wife, Dana. Uh, or Thora, as she's known in the known world, and I've been fighting for most of that time.
Excellent. So we have lots on our road to retention that we're going to go ahead and discuss. And you kind of are in a very unique position geographically, even from not only just in your kingdom, but even the nearest group. So
Mm-hmm.
for you to go to an average fighter practice, what is your daily drive just to play?
So to go to the current average fighter practice, not including the canton that we are currently starting, it's a 4.5 hour drive.
And this has been a trek that you've made for years
Oh
consistently.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
as far as
as much as I
go
as
ahead.
much as I possibly could, yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to retention, obviously distance definitely has a play in how much you're able to
Hmm.
play, when you're able to play. And I guess let's talk a little bit about that. What has been the biggest obstacle with the distance for you personally?
So, I mean, I guess one of the biggest issues with the distance has always been that concept of just trying to stick with it. So, me specifically, I know that whenever I'm not constantly in contact, constantly active, and constantly engaging with someone about what's going on, I always fall out of my training. I don't always get out to the Pell because I look at it and then go, well, I don't know when the next time I'm going to get out to an event or get out to a practice. So, I'll just skip throw and stick today. Like, what's the point? And trying to get people in my area to do it when I'm just the only one doing it is always hard. Um,
Definitely.
so and trying to find people to come up to you is difficult because of course everybody is so busy with their lives and with their jobs and all of their extracurriculars, and just trying to find people who even the small groups that are randomly out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I heard lots and lots of legends and fairy tales that there were fighters in all sorts of places, and I was like, "We'll get them to contact me. Like, we'll start something," and they just never magically appeared like they were supposed to.
And part of that, I think, is they also struggled with exactly what you were struggling
Yeah,
with the location. Like,
absolutely.
hey, you know, you can only try so long to be, you know, that fighter that lives so far away, or that artisan who lives
Hmm.
so far away from everybody, and not having that contact kind of is like, what's the point? You know, it definitely is a kind of that pain point, that frustration point. And I
Hmm.
know
It
that
is a
a
little.
lot
It's a little crushing.
it is. So knowing that, what has been the best thing that has helped you from your kingdom, from the closest group, from other
So
like-minded or situations?
the number one best thing that's always helped has always been people reaching out to make sure that I'm still alive, kind of thing. I
Well,
know
you
that
know.
sounds a little morbid, but just kind of like, hey, how's it going? What's been going on? What you been doing? When's the next time you're gonna come out? My squire brother Valor was always big about that. He would message me
Mhm.
constantly. He still does, and I'm super happy about that. I still get messages from people now and again, just checking in, just making sure that everything's still tip top, seeing what events I'm going to. But that is number one, has always been, just to make sure and remember that someone still remembers me, and I should go. I should plan a day to go.
Well, and that kind of that human connection, that someone remembers you, that reaching out,
Hmm.
that's something, regardless of location, that we should always do to everybody we're available to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I
Check
mean,
on your
that's
friends.
it's a universal strategy. So, yeah, check on your friends.
Yeah.
It's important.
Especially pay attention to your introverts.
Well, I mean, some of us introverts, depending on whether we're being an extroverted introvert or introvert, or if we're just plain introvert, like some of us kind of like the second you check in on us. Like it just depends. And, you know, as long as you've got those gloves ready to handle the hissing and the claws,
Yeah, yeah.
it's perfectly fine.
Get the
So,
gardener's glove, and you okay?
yeah. So I know that one thing that has happened kind of in your area or closer by has been the formation of a new group. And you've been
Hmm.
very integral. So has your lady uh, with this new group. Well, so let's go ahead and do a quick explanation of your group and what role that you and your partner have served.
Sure. So we had a new member come up from Onsteora, Calvin Tittle, John Bilderback, from Texas. And when he came up, he said, there's no, there's no group where I'm at. So I want to start one. So we all kind of got together, and we figured out that we were actually only 2.5 hours away from where he's at, as opposed to 4.5 hours where you and your lovely bunch are. So we tried to we're trying to put everything together there, so that because I mean, I can drive 2.5 hours. That's a day trip.
Hmm.
That's worthy of a day trip every so often for me. um but I mean, it's definitely been a struggle, because once again, and I don't know if it's just like if it's just a thing in our area, or if it's, I don't know if maybe we're doing something, well, I don't know, necessarily doing something wrong, but maybe we haven't really gotten the click yet. But trying to draw in members is always the hardest part. But
Yep.
I figured, if you build it, they will come. So I think the best thing to do is to try and build it. So we have officially become the canton, or the incipient canton of Sol Rosa, and I have taken over
Vivat.
the yeah, vivat on that. But I've taken over the role as the Knights Marshal and Exchequer. My wife has been doing the Chronicler and has been doing an amazing job at that. She releases amazing. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember what they're called. It's slipping my mind.
The monthly kind of magazine.
Yes, the monthly magazine.
I can't remember
And
the
then
name of your group's magazine. I apologize.
it's okay. I can't remember
But
either.
it is good.
Um,
She does good
it
work.
is. She does, yeah, and she's been working, really close. The
The
Muse, that's
Muse.
what it was. The
So
Muse.
sorry, Thora. You can totally beat it into my head next time we're together. I promise.
But it looks amazing. She does a really good job researching everything. She worked a really long time with Charlie on getting it taken care of, and researching how to do everything and getting it done. And then Bilderback and his wife are the seneschal and Art Sci, and I
Minister of
can't
Arts
remember
and
what
Science.
else she does. Yeah, Minister of Arts and Sciences. So
And the nice and kind of interesting thing, John Bilderback's wife, Bonnie Felicity,
yes,
she actually is a returning Artemisian, because she actually was from
yes, she
Artemisia.
is.
So
Yep,
she's
originally.
a returning. So we licked her first, we get her back. We have a good question that just popped up from FN here. What do you look for when trying to find new members?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
And their situation is very different as far as, like, it is not a big city. The canton is in what, Glendive maybe has 15,000 on a good day.
I would venture to say less than that.
So less than 15,000 individuals, and then you're dealing with a bunch of smaller townships all around. So recruiting on super small microcosm scales is very difficult. But
Very
what do
much
you
so.
do?
Well, so we have had some success with interest from other gaming groups. One of the groups that we have had a joint interest with is the Badlands D&D group, which is actually a large Dungeons and Dragons gaming club that puts on a convention every year. And they're fantastic and they're wonderful. And we do a demo there every year. They also do Magic the Gathering. They do Warhammer. They do Star Wars. All sorts of amazing stuff. And we try to, convince them. It's like, hey, you can come and play those, those really cool video games like Assassin's Creed and Witcher and all those other stuff. Leave out the magic, but you can do that in real life, and we'll help you. But you always try to get the historical enthusiasts and the a little bit of the nerdy jocks, as you could say, to try and throw stick.
Well, I mean, there's just totally now the geek and nerd fitness, like where it's super insane CrossFit for people who are fans of like fantasy and historical fiction. And don't leave out the magic. Oh, Master Aslak. Yeah, he is right. I mean, it's magic. It's just not,
I summoned forth a lightning storm.
Yeah, like I'm not summoning the thunderstorm, but there's some sleight of hand that definitely is magical.
Oh, absolutely,
and beyond belief. Maybe we need to have you come visit them, Aslak. Oh yes, that magic. Not only can he perform acts of magic trickery and stun you into disbelief, but he is a very good comedian as well. Oh, so I have not attended the gaming convention, and I definitely know in our area, anytime that we have a chance to go to convention or of any sort, that definitely is a great recruitment. And I live in the Barony of Bronsholm, and we're close by, but we're small. Like, it's not a huge city. It's the biggest city in Montana, but it's still pretty remote and it's still pretty small. Like, if you compare it to a major metropolis, we're a small suburb. So, or a town, we're not a city. So it just depends. But yeah, that's definitely a good strategy. Any demos really are going to be the heart and breadwinner. Is that like the word? We'll talk later, Cal, about that.
Well, one of the things that I know was very interesting, somebody was talking about trying to get a group started in Helena.
Hmm.
And they always had problems getting a group in Helena, which of course is the capital of Montana, but it's a college city. So it's
Hmm.
so much of a revolving door. Nobody really stays in Helena that would stay long enough to do anything. So it's the turnaround is just so, it's
And
such a short time.
and depending on the size of your group, you could be always constantly serving in an officer role, and you can only
Hmm.
serve in so many positions. Like, it's fine in a canton for you to serve in a dual officer role because it's small enough. In
Yeah.
certain size group like a shire, well, you can't be the exchequer and be married to the seneschal and living in the
Yeah.
same house.
Exactly.
Like, so it kind of really
Exactly.
depends on your situation, what kingdom Kapora and the actual Kapora for the SCA dictate. So there's just different laws that do apply. So if as a shire you had, which it used to be the Shire of Castiglione, they have the same people that were always trying to do all the same jobs. Well, you can only hold so many roles, and you don't want to
Yeah.
get burned
True.
out because there goes your retention right there. Once you're burned out, you're no
Absolutely.
good to anybody else until you take the time to self-care for yourself. So definitely, it's definitely interesting. Yes, they are actually an amazing place to recruit, especially for folklorists, archaeologists, anthropologists, sociologists, history majors, literature majors. I mean, there's a plethora, art majors. I mean, you could literally across the whole spectrum. There's not something that wasn't available in the Middle Ages that's, somebody studies in some aspect. So
Absolutely.
definitely. But you do have to understand when you do recruit at a college level for collegiate students that there may be that turnover. They may not stay. So looking at time to travel, for you to go from one end of the kingdom to the other for large events or just events that are across kingdom, I mean, you're looking at somewhere sometimes 18 hours. If you were to go
Hmm.
from where you're at all the way down to the southernmost point of Artemisia. Like, that's
Yeah.
an all day or 2 day trip. So that definitely, I could see how that isolation. So what are some,
I'd
um,
take it in a day.
I know you would, but you have a significant other who also plays,
I do, yes.
and you also have a family with very young children.
We do.
So let's talk a little bit. Ooh, we had another question pop up.
Oh,
Even
did
with
we?
college towns, do you believe you can try to set them up in a way to retain them with another group? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you don't think of them as like, hey, they're just a college student, they're going to, let me give them all the things so I can send them off. Think of it, they're still your member in your group, whether it's a
Hmm.
canton, a college, a shire, a barony, principality, whatever the situation, they're still a member of your group. It's just one of those things that you treat them exactly the same as you would any other new member, give them the tools to enjoy the game as best they can and help them thrive, just like you would, a person who's been playing for 35 years. You treat everybody with the same compassion and understanding and, ask, hey, can I help you with anything? What do you need?
The other thing that's really important is to look at, depending on the interest with a college student, are they looking for an escape or are they looking to connect with what they're doing into the game itself? For me, I was a music performance major for so many years in college. So anytime that I get involved in something, I always look, oh, does this have anything to do with music? And if it does, and it's something that I'm interested in, I love pursuing the concept of music and pursuing, whatever kind of music. I love historical music and, medieval style music and things like that. So it was so much fun to actually study different styles of historical music while I was going through the game. But at the same time, I could actually see the opposite where someone would go, I don't really care. I just want to hit people with sticks. Can I just do that? And then if that's the case, you just let them focus on that and try
Both
not to
are
bring anything else
completely
up.
okay.
Absolutely.
Neither one is
So
wrong.
Yep. So if they're looking for an escape, allow them to get an escape. If they're looking for an inclusion, allow them to find that inclusion. But,
Definitely.
you can always provide the resources to connect whatever they want.
Definitely. That's a good question. Aslak, setting them up with another group is always the basis for once a Cote de Decilian. Oh, I can never say Cote de Decile. Oh, once a Cote de Decilian, always a Cote de Decilian. And I think you forgot your borking there, Master Aslak. I think that's required if you're Cote de Ciel. Cote de Decilian. Why do you have to add letters at the end of Cote de Ciel? Bork, bork. Oh, too funny. So let's go back to that question about your children. Since you have a family and you have children and they're small children, and I know that parents in the SCA sometimes feel like it's something they can't do. I guess
Hmm.
we're on the scale of retention and playing, not only, just you, but you and your partner and your children. How do you balance that and make it work so that you're both not getting burnt out?
So one of the biggest things is that we kind of use the SCA a little bit as a bit of a break from our
Mhm.
kids, which there's nothing wrong with.
Nope.
Sometimes I need a break from myself. Sometimes I need a break from my wife. Sometimes I need a break from my kids. That's just how it goes. So, and it's always important to have a really good support group when you're dealing with family. So having somebody that's kind of lined up to help watch them, or if you ever have to go out of town, or if anything comes up, and it's
Mhm.
just like, would you be able to watch them? Could you watch them for a weekend and plan things around that way? Taking them to events, you just have to understand that maybe you won't be able to get to fight in this tournament, or maybe you won't be able to participate in this type of activity, and but that's okay, because including your children in the immersion creates the second generation. And
Definitely.
who doesn't love a second gen? um
I don't know anybody who really doesn't.
who doesn't love a second gen Artemisian, or Scadian for that matter? But and we've done lots of things, with our kids that were SCA associated, and we've taken our kids to, where did we take our kids? We took our kids to uh Coronation,
Mhm.
up in Booty, and they had a wonderful time. And I mean, it was a little stressful because we had two youngins, and now we have three youngins, and but they absolutely loved it. They loved
Mhm.
watching, they loved hanging out. So it is important to include them, but at the same time, it is important for you to take some time to take a break
Mhm.
from them.
Definitely. It totally makes sense. And as a SCA parent, um, when my son was small, I had to make those decisions. Am I going to this event?
Hmm.
All right. If I'm going to this event, is my son going with me? Am I going to leave them at home? If I leave them at home, am I okay with leaving them, with somebody who's responsible, who can take care of them? Am I devoting myself and my son of time? So there's a lot of questions that you have to kind of balance, and that plays into your satisfaction and enjoyment while you're playing.
Absolutely. But self-care is very important, because if you can't self-care, then providing care for them is going to be just as hard.
Exactly.
Um, the other thing that you can always pay attention to is make sure you reach out to your what's
The youth minister.
the youth minister. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Always reach out to the youth minister, see if anything's going on that event that they can, take time to spend and hang out at. Maybe they can do some activities, play some
Mhm.
games while you're out doing something else. And always talk to your SCA family. I know my household has helped
Mm.
me out so much with taking care of our kids. Rachel, Isabeau, and Till, and
They're
even
amazing.
yeah, even Violette has actually stepped up to help out with the kids. I know, especially when I was doing the axe throwing at the Ren Fair,
Mhm.
um, while Dana was off doing other stuff. either Rachel or Isabel were watching the girls while we were doing that. But I mean, it's nothing for somebody to just kind of take a few hours to watch a little one wander around and while you're
Well,
talking.
it takes a village, and
Yeah.
we're the SCA, whether we want to admit it or not, whether we like each other or not, we're a huge family, and
Hmm.
we're that village. So it's important that we help each other when we have the opportunity, we have the bandwidth and the capability. I'm not saying,
Absolutely.
hey, pass your kids off on random strangers,
No, no,
but
no, no, no.
if you
And
have
always
an
be
SCA family,
receptive. Yeah.
yes, definitely.
But always be receptive if somebody's like, "Hey, your kid's kind of, they're like, that's fine. I'll take them back."
I think your kid kind of wants their parents now. I think they're done with me. They no longer want to hang out with Auntie Rahmut. I don't know what I did. So sorry. Here's your broken kid. I mean, it's not that I haven't had moments like that of helping other people with their children, but I do recall at one point when His Grace Damon and Her Grace Veronique were on the thrones at an event, and I had volunteered to assist them with their wee little one, who is not so wee anymore. But she was kind of colicky, and we had got her calm, and then court, I was supposed to cover watching the baby during court, and the baby got really colicky and started screaming. And I was like, oh no, I broke the baby.
I mean, babies cry. There's not much you can do.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It happens. It totally
Yeah.
happens.
I mean, if anybody comes to my house, there's 3 kids running around screaming. It's like they're playing. Babies scream and play. I don't want to stop it because it's normal.
It
So
is completely normal. So, speaking of normal, sometimes our partners do the same thing we do. And there's kind of a competition for time. And I know you've gotten to talk on other shows about that a little bit. But can you
mhm.
talk a little bit about how, when you're both fighters or both artisans or you're both volunteering, how that comes into retention, how you kind of balance that time away from each other or time with each other, depending on the activity?
So I know that Dana definitely needs time away from me because I never shut up. And
Oh, poor Thora.
I'll admit it. I know I have a jabber problem because I'm always home by myself and I never get to talk to nobody. But and it's important for Dana to always go out and see other people and talk to other people and hang out with her girlfriends and all of her associates and whatnot. And I have absolutely no problem with that. I encourage it if and I 100% encourage her to go out onto the battlefield as well. And my biggest thing is if she needs me to play consort and be on the sideline and monitor things, not being in a helmet, also as a combatant, that's something that I'm willing to put the time into and be like, okay, I'll sit out this one and I'll go through this one. And then the next time I'm going to be in and I'm going to beat your butt. So, but it's, because it's always important to try and really um, uh, influence that growth.
Mhm.
Now, artistry wise, I'm a performing artist. I'm not as much a display artist. I don't make beautiful pieces of artwork. I sing, dance, and tell stories and make
Well,
weird noises.
yours just aren't art a static form of art. So while
Yeah,
she's at a
exactly.
display, you could still be performing.
Sure. Dancing around. Hey, look at the artwork. Now she does amazing pieces of art, and I actually didn't know that about her until much later in our relationship. And actually, I didn't know that about her until we started doing the SCA. That she
Together.
is a yeah together. That she is actually a brilliant visual artist. And I was like, I never knew this about you. And she's like, oh yeah, I love doing stuff like this. And I was like, well, could have told me. I would have introduced this to you a long time ago. So some of the stuff that she's done is absolutely beautiful, and some of the things that she's been practicing is phenomenal. I know that she got a token at Crown tournament for her little stitchy thing. I don't know what it's called. I don't pretend to know. I just encourage her to do it, and but I'll give her my honest opinion every single time. If something doesn't look
Mhm.
right, I'll be like, it looks a little weird. But 100%, I'll always support her in everything she does. So whether it's her being in service, if she wants to go off and do her service stuff, I'll let her do it. As long as I kind of know the general vicinity where she's
Mhm.
at in case I have to go find her. But if she needs me, she'll come find me. She just has to follow the loud screaming.
I mean, it's right and it's wrong at the same time. So, I guess when you are performing, or when you are on the field of battle, or an attorney, and she's there as your consort, what does she do that inspires you the most?
um, I mean, personally, I would really prefer if she were recording me while I'm fighting or while I'm performing, because then I can look at it and go, okay, all of this was wrong and I need to fix everything. I can critique myself, but um really I don't personally necessarily have to have her there. Just her being at the same event as me, she doesn't have to watch me, she doesn't have
Mhm.
to cheer me on from the sidelines. I know that I always have her love and her care, and her fighting spirit is with me. So if she's off doing something else while I'm doing something, that's fine. But personally, yeah, I'd love to get video evidence of me doing something so that I know what I can fix.
And what is it that you think that inspires her the most, whether it's creating art or on the fighting field
I have
or
absolutely no
volunteering?
idea. I have no idea. Whatever
Uh-oh.
she tells me to do, that's the best thing that I could possibly think of is whatever you need me to do, tell me to do it, and I'll do it.
All right. So, as a skating who's played for a while, and as a host on a show, what kind of goals do you see setting for yourself now, and where would you like to be 5 years from now?
Oh gosh, uh Billings. Um
Relocated to Bronzhelm. All right.
yeah. So we're actually looking in the next 3 to 5 years to be moving closer to Billings, so that we can be closer to the barony. Um, I absolutely love helping out and hosting the show. It's so much fun. I get to meet amazing people do amazing things all the time. I get to hang out with amazing people. Effin and Honora are just, the bee's knees, in my opinion. Honora is absolutely hilarious, and Effin's just freaking Effin. I don't know how else to describe him. So it's definitely something that I've always wanted to do, and I'm so glad that I have the opportunity to get to do something like that. And then with SCA, I really want to try to immerse myself so much more, like I did when I was down in Florida in Troy Maris, when we were going to a bunch of different events, and I was going
Mhm.
to practices every single week.
Mhm.
I was trying so hard not to miss a single practice, and I was armoring almost every single practice. And I want to make sure that if I can get myself to a place where I can just do nothing but SEA, family, and go for it.
Nice. I see. What sort of activities, as your children get older, do you plan on getting them interested in, or attempting to, since we can never actually make them do anything?
Well, I may or may not have already introduced them into sword fighting by accident or on purpose. So I have a Pell in my garage, and
Mhm.
any chance that garage door is open, my girls will grab a stick, an SEA sword, or just a random stick that is in the yard. They will go to that pell and they will start hitting it. And I tell you what, their technique is getting pretty good. So
So, some of the craziest, most like accurate and like amazing form that I've ever seen at like of a child who's not old enough to actually heavy fight has been usually like one of the like demos where it's a softball playing girl, or whether
mhm,
it is like for the fencing, like the boys, who happen to do like track and field. It's crazy seeing how much our youth that we don't realize have that natural kind of athleticism that allows them from what they're doing already to transition if they could. So
absolutely. So
do you plan on then eventually, if they're interested, getting them into like youth combat?
yep, absolutely.
Gotcha.
The second Pickles turned 6. If she wants to do it, then I will get her a full suit and I will make her weapons and I will get her to start fighting.
Oh, she's gonna be adorable.
Absolutely. I know I'm gonna get phone calls from schools and they're gonna be like,
Your daughter
"Sir,
says.
your daughter beat somebody up. Well, what did he do wrong?" Because I teach morals along with my sword fighting.
Like mommy, like daughter. Oh,
Yeah.
Dora. Oh, too funny. No, that's definitely really, really good as far as the fighting. Now, what about service and art? Anything you guys have
Um.
lined up that you're thinking that you might want to, as a
Oh,
family, get them
definitely.
involved with?
Absolutely. I know. Like when I was down in Gulf War, I I I my kit got messed up one of the first couple of days of fighting, and I couldn't fight, and I felt so bad. And it's like, but I wanted to be out on the field with everybody, and I was like, what can I possibly do? And Duke Kern was like, well, why don't you be a water bearer? And I was like, where are the jugs? Give them to me. Let's go. So that was the first thing I did was I grabbed water jugs and I ran out there and I was like, I'm here. Who needs water? I'm ready to do this. So that's the number one first thing is, I think that's a great idea as, as a family activity is,
Handed out water bottles
give
at an event.
hand out water bottles or get a big communal water jug and start squirting people in the mouth.
Oh. And I missed that. Oh, darn it. That is cool. The little ones helped out with the tents and the rugs at Ren
Mm-hmm.
Fair. Oh. So you got them already started with fighting. You've already got them
Yeah.
started with service.
Yeah.
And I know that their mom can easily get them going with the arts and sciences. So
With the
it sounds like,
sewing and they love singing along to Disney movies, so
I
they're
mean,
going to be
that's
learning
bardic
some
art.
songs. Yeah, right
That's
there.
bardic. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
complain. So it sounds like the goals, like as a family, you have a lot that you can do to help increase your own in your family unit retention and interest. And then
Absolutely.
obviously working with your new canton, definitely in trying
Mhm.
to get more demo opportunities. I know that there was a demo opportunity with a bake sale
Mhm.
a couple weeks ago, and that your canton raised some money and it was good. And I know that I believe next Saturday there is a regional practice in your area.
Mhm. Which I
For
will be attending.
Okay, and that
I
it
should
happens
be.
to be for anybody in Artemisia who, or in North Shield, or in Outlands who wants to make it. That in Glendive, Montana, there is a regional fighter practice.
Mhm.
So fencing, rapier fighting, do that. Armored, heavy combat, do that.
Yeah.
All awesome.
Pending flat tires and catastrophic events, I should be going there.
And snow.
So,
Once
and
again, you're in
yeah, snow.
Montana. There's snow.
Yeah. There's snow. Well, it snowed this morning, and then it was supposed to start snowing where my mom was, but this morning we woke up and Dana's playing Christmas music, and I'm like, oh, it must have snowed this morning.
You be nice to that wife of yours. I like her.
I let her play her Christmas music.
So where would you like to see yourself in the SCA? Not your family, yourself in 10 years in the SCA.
In
What
10
kind of
years,
goals do you have?
I would like to be
Barons?
knighted and Baron of Bronzehelm.
Oh, I mean, those are some goals.
I mean, I definitely love to, love to step up my service game and, at the
Mhm.
very least try to be an officer of Bronzehelm itself. And I mean, 10 years, from fighting wise, I think 10 years is probably a decent goal to start, really pursuing that white belt and that chain
Mhm.
to try and, it's like, I'm not getting any younger and I'm definitely not getting any skinnier. So probably need to get on top of that. But I've got an
There,
amazing night and I've got amazing people around me.
mhm.
So,
And
there's absolutely no reason.
those are good goals. I mean, you have picked a martial goal and you
Hmm.
have picked one that a service, but serving in itself is an art. So it is both, in my opinion, if you are a baron or a baroness or serving on a baronial throne in whatever capacity. I
Hmm.
mean, you have to talk. There's public speaking. That's bardic. And you are giving of yourself. And it's giving of yourself a lot of time. So, I mean, those are terrific.
Yeah. I mean, I have no, illusions about winning crown or anything, but
You never know. You do
several
have to
dukes
enter
would
to
have to.
win. You
I
do
do, yeah,
have
but
to enter to win.
several dukes would have to come down with dysentery
This is not the Oregon
for me.
Trail. This is not Oregon Trail. We do not jinx our SCA family with dysentery. No, no, no.
Well, but you never know. I mean, what do they always say? It's like you don't have to be the best fighter; you just have to be the best fighter that day.
Exactly.
So, I always have that hope, and if Dana ever wants me to go after it, or if Dana wants to pursue it, I'm absolutely for it. I'd absolutely love for her to pursue the concept of winning crown or participating in crown, and
Hmm.
if she wants to do it, or if she wants me to do it, I'll anytime that I'm going to enter some kind of list, I go for winning. So,
I mean, that should be your goal, whether
mhm,
it's winning itself or having victory conditions that you're going to meet that particular day on the field. Whatever those victory
absolutely.
conditions are, doing your best to achieve those victory conditions.
Don't die from one shots.
And I know some people that have set that as a victory condition and have met it. So it totally can happen.
That's a victory condition against Duke Sean day in day out. Don't
Hey,
get one shotted, please.
don't get one shotted by his grace, Sean. He's fast. He
Yeah, he
flies.
is.
So, um, what is one thing that you could change about the SCA that if you had the magic wand of being able to, you would change?
Oh gosh.
I know. I'm like, oh no, she pulled out a hard question. Oh, thanks, Lenora. My bestie Penelope found these mugs that have these like natural hand holder. And so her and Baron Killian both got a set. And then my husband, Sir Magnus, decided that I was making the pouty face and I needed to have a similar mug. So I have a left-handed one because I'm a sinister lefty, and my husband's a righty. So now I always know when he goes to grab my mug. The problem is that Baron Killian is also a lefty, and his mug and my mug look exactly the same. Where Her Excellency Penelope and Sir Magnus's mugs are different colors, but that's okay. Do we give you time?
Maybe. I don't
Okay.
know. Oh
Oh
gosh.
no! Don't be nervous.
So
It's just an
crazy.
opinion.
Uh, I don't know. Maybe less politics. I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Sure. Let's go with that one. Less
Less
politics.
politics. I can see
More
that.
hitting people with sticks and less politics.
I like the hitting people with sticks part, or poking our friends, or shooting arrows, or throwing knives at target, or painting things, or sewing things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I am 100% good with doing more of those. So, totally understandable. What
Absolutely.
is one thing you would absolutely not change about the SCA? And I'm pretty sure it's going to
Ooh,
be hitting people with sticks, but
absolutely not change.
yeah.
Um, absolutely not change.
The one thing that makes this dream that much more amazing for you.
Oh, I have no idea. Absolutely not change.
Yeah. We know it's not politics. We know you would, if you could.
Yeah, no, yeah. I hate politics. I mean, I do like the sticking, but it's just. I mean, everything of it as a whole is just so fantastic. I really can't think of any one thing that I absolutely would not change. I mean, just every little bit of the SCA that it goes into it, between the wars and the arts and the sciences and the parties and everything like that. I think it's just absolutely fantastic. The camaraderie, you can't find a nicer group of people.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, for me, it's definitely the camaraderie, because
Yeah.
that improves retention. Like, everyday life, I could go into the office. I'm not going to find with my coworkers camaraderie like I have with everybody here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for
Um,
that. I'm gonna go for camaraderie because I just, it's never a dull day and it's never a bad day.
yeah.
As they say is the worst day of fishing is better than the best day at the office. But
I
I've
mean,
seen
that's
Deadliest Catch.
that is an exception to the
but
rule.
I will 100% say that the worst, well, maybe not the absolute worst, but the worst day of SEA is still the best day at the office.
Yeah, Lenora, that sense of community. Like,
Hmm.
100% agree, Lenora. The sense of community definitely is the kind of the end all be all. So, ooh, peer fear.
Pure fear.
That is something to eliminate and keep that sense of family, because it is important. It really is. Like, so the community, that sense of family, the camaraderie. Peer fear. Did you ever have peer fear, Edward Little John?
Oh God, yes. Absolutely.
And what was the thing that broke your peer fear?
Um I mean, I probably still have a little bit of it, just a tiny bit. But just a little bit. But for the most part of it, it's just
Oh, that's like, I don't mean to laugh, but like,
what?
if I was ever to become a peer, so Aslak says I'm a peer and I still have the fear. It's so weird. Like, if I was to be ever elevated in any sort of peer-like situation, that would be me. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I am now what I'm the most afraid of. Like, I get it. Totally get it. That's
Well, I
my
mean,
inside
you
voice.
you look at somebody like Duke Timmer, who has just about
Royal
every single
Majesty. Or Highness, not yet.
uh,
Highness.
his Highness Prince Duke Sir Pelican Laurel
No, not Laurel
Ahmad
yet.
Tim. Oh, not Laurel yet, but
Not yet.
Maud Timmer has just about every award you could possibly think of,
Timmer
except
Timmer.
for what was it, Griffin's Bride?
He doesn't have the Griffin's Pride, and he's not a Laurel yet. One of those he could
But
possibly achieve. The other one, unless he has a reverse aging Benjamin Button machine, will never become a child again, physically.
yeah, probably. I don't know. You never know if he
I
just
mean,
tried really, really hard and.
my son, thank God my son never got, in Artemisia, our youth are like one of the most important things besides newcomers, obviously.
Yes.
And they're recognized as youth for their service, their prowess in service, their grace, the peer-like qualities that they have as children, with an award called the Griffin's Pride. And this is an award that our current Prince of Artemisia does not have. If my son had been awarded one, because my son is a little bit evil and is a huge fan, he would have given it to Timur. And I know this because my son blatantly told me this. Now, thank God my son is now over the age of 16 and can no longer be eligible for a Griffin's Pride. But at one of Timur's reigns, he gave out a card. It was a Timur card. It looked like a card out of a playing deck. And my son tried to use this card as a get out of jail free card anytime he was up to no good, because he'd hold up the card and be like, "What would Timur do?" And of course, I would die hysterically.
That's amazing.
And I'm sure that Timur would encourage.
Oh my gosh! But as I was saying, I mean, if you look at somebody like Timur, he just excels in everything that he does, and has been king multiple times, and is still going to be king even more, and pokes people and hits people with such finesse and grace, and he dresses and wears amazing clothes like you wouldn't believe, and his showmanship is just fantastic. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of fear there, a little bit of pure fear. It's just intimidating to be in his presence, but still a man.
But he's still a man,
and I gotta so freaking wonderful.
He is an incredible human being, super nice. You know what? And puts his pants on, hopefully the same way most people put pants on. I'm not gonna, say for 100% sure. But, he's
pretty sure
he dresses up in funny clothes and does funny things just like the rest of us in the SCA do.
Just like it. Just because little tiny unicorns bring his pants in through the skylight for him to jump into every morning, just doesn't mean he's no different from anybody else.
I think I'm going to have to make a note to ask His Royal Highness or Her Royal Highness to confirm or deny the rumors and allegations of unicorn Pegasus flying Timur's pants to him. If you know and can vouch for this, because I'm sure that somewhere there's a union concerned about the well-being of the yes, and don't give Timur a flamethrower. I mean, he's been given a flamethrower before, and he'll probably be given the flamethrower again, but just FYI, it really, you shouldn't give Timur a flamethrower. I've seen it. It's wicked.
I saw that picture too. I want one so bad.
I was at that event. It was a very, very wet event in northern Artemisia, even farther north than we are, up at almost the border to Canada, at an event called Whipping Winds. And it's actually an event that many of our Avocalian beloved friends come to down from Canada to attend. And this year was particularly wet. Things were particularly soggy, and everybody was cold. And they wanted to create a bonfire to warm us up, and there were no fire restrictions, obviously due to the moisture. And so there was a flamethrower, and at the time, His Royal Highness was given the flamethrower to use to start a massive bonfire.
It makes perfect sense to me.
I mean, it was all legit, really, and it was very glorious. But the picture is kind of priceless. So that's where the flamethrower comes in, just so everybody knows. There were no unicorn Pegasi harmed with the flamethrower at Whipping Winds that year. So we've almost reached the end of our hour here. So before we get to the very end of our show, I always like to do a shout out. If there was somebody you could do a shout out to, and I am remiss because I forgot to remind you in our pre-show, if there's somebody in the whole known world, anybody, a group, could be a thing. My fake wolf pelt wrap keep me warm because it's actually cold in my basement studio office. if you could shout out to them or the thing or whatever it is, who would it be and why? Or what and why?
Okay. Could I do a few shout outs?
Yeah, totally.
A few shout outs. So, first and foremost, shout out to Duke Kern for guiding me and leading me through this amazing journey, and starting me on this, insane path of being, of trying to become a good fighter and an amazing person. Um, I probably 100% shout out to His Excellency Count Takamatsu Tadayoshi, may he rest in peace, of Trimaris, for being the number one reason why I actually started playing the game in the first place. It was actually a video of him fighting that got me so interested that I was like, I gotta go do this. And then meeting him in person and finding out he was like 5.5 feet tall and still such a amazing fighter. That was just gobsmacked. And then becoming great friends with him, he was so just amazing. And then just to all of my wonderful amazing friends and family who have been guiding me along this journey that I've been through, and just pushing as hard as they possibly can to keep me sane and uh mostly sane, at least.
Perfect. And I like Lenora's statement. Anyone can feel free to give her a flamethrower. So if you have a flamethrower that you wanted to gift to somebody, Lenora looks like she might be a potentially safe bet to give a flamethrower to. So just saying. I do have 2 shout outs today. My shout outs are actually to some recent transplants to Artemisia from different kingdoms. My first one is to Lady Troiva. She actually is a transplant to the barony that I live in. Not only is she a wealth of knowledge, she and her husband both are super giving, super willing to step in wherever. And I felt the need to be like, hey, Lady Troiva, you're amazing. The other is actually an individual from Kaid, who is a recent transplant to Stanworm in the Kingdom of Artemisia. And her name is Lady Mally. And Lady Mally, jumping into a new kingdom, jumping in, to a new city, a new way, different job, and entering Queen's Prize and super in depth into talking about what she wants to do. I have the honor of being able to sponsor her at a Queen's Prize, as I have a grant level of award. And I'm just floored and amazed, and the conversation is so enlightening. And so your enthusiasm and your willingness to just jump in after just relocating is incredible. So those are my 2 shout outs.
Woot woot.
So now we're going to get to pluggables really quick here. So coming up next on Coffee with Cal on November 14th, we have Progress versus Tradition with Lord Nut. Rescheduled because he was supposed to be earlier today, but he has no voice. So that show is going to be an amazing show. November 15th on Baron. Yeah, ooh. Baron. We like it. On November 15th on Askanites Live, we will have Duke James the Holy and Sir Carson. That is going to be a heck of a show. You do not want to miss it.
I think that one's me too. So,
ooh, you are in for a good time. I'm jealous. The one time that I had the opportunity to interview Duke James the Holy, I was sick as a dog.
I know. I'm trying so hard to not be like,
don't get sick.
Oh my God, it's Duke James Holy.
Don't get sick. He kicks so much butt. And then, of course, December 4th with Coffee with Cal. A bird's eye view with Sir Singenius, which I kind of dig the name because mundanely my name is Gina, and my sisters would call me Ginny, and Sin Ginny sounds really cool. So, all right. Now, if you want to support this amazing show or any that are on the wonderful channel of Kal-bardr's Corner, you can support KK Productions by going to patreon.com/KK Productions and join the grand wall of patrons. Like, see, look, there I am on nights. I could tell you the rewards for supporting him are just as amazing as, going shopping and buying stuff at an events. Like, amazing rewards. Also, if you want to see what Cal is doing, because sometimes Cal drops some really cool insights, you could check him out at TikTok at Kal-bardr. You know what? Maybe you don't want to check him out. Maybe you want to see what I'm doing. Well, you could check me out at Gina Kits. But you know what? Maybe you don't want to do that either. Maybe you want to support Kal-bardr's Corner, but you don't know how, other than, Patreon. But you don't have maybe quite as much, and you really like merch. You can buy stickers, sheets, journals, notebooks. There's a whole bunch of different options. If you search Redbubble for KK Productions, you too could have your Spite Sprinkles sticker, Trauma Onion sticker. I mean, really, the possibilities are endless. Well, Edward, it's been amazing, as always. I thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me with a good time, good story. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.